Welcome to yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast, where today we're going over UFC Vegas 104, Vetorri versus Dolidze 2. First things first, make sure you smash that like button. Give a follow over on Twitter, over on Instagram, over on TikTok, hell, over on Blue Sky, wherever there's social media. There's the Stats and Stacks podcast. Sometimes I wonder why, and weeks like last week, where again, this is the third consecutive week where it was a losing week. We didn't get absolutely crushed. We did hit a dog last week. We hit a few. Actually, we hit Ankalaev. We hit God, I don't even remember. I just know one of the locks lost, and both should have lost. Armin Petrosian got cut from the UFC. Good, because then I don't have to bet him anymore. It was a strange addiction I had. And then Myron Santos had one of the robberies of the year. We were on the right side. We'll take it. I got nothing to say there. I mean, sometimes those bounce the wrong way and you're pissed off. For once, we were on the right side of it. So let's just dust ourselves off. Again, a negative week last week, but by the slimmest of margins, it takes one good week and we're right back positive for the entire year. So, is it going to happen at this card, at this dumpster diving card? I don't know. I can't promise that, but I can promise that the research was done. I can promise that the reads are there, and we're just going to do our best to try to win some money. So let's go ahead and start with the very first fight of the night. A lot of these lines are fucking ridiculous, but let's just go for it. We have Eunice Dubin at plus 295 going up against Carly Judice at minus 390. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 170. Under 2.5 at plus 140. Let's start with Eunice because she is the girl that, if you're thinking she looks familiar, she's the girl that went on Contender Series last season of Contender Series, has like the biggest dog in history, basically. I forgot who, God, it's Shannon Clark, I want to say, the girl from Canada that bulldog choked that girl to peeing herself over an LFA. God, I know her last name's Clark. I want to say it's Shannon Clark, but I need to know. It's going to bother me. Um, Either way, she was a huge favorite. Yeah, Shannon Clark, huge favorite. Came out there and got absolutely starched in a minute with a big overhand right, and that's basically all Dubin has to offer is big power. She's not a big girl at all. She's kind of tiny, short and stocky. She's thick, and she comes out there and she swings. She's 28 years old. She's in the prime of her life, prime of her career, and she has good striking with a ton of power. That's it. She doesn't really have any jujitsu chops from what I've seen. She doesn't really have any wrestling from what I've seen. Her takedown defense looked terrible on the regional scene. And the part that makes that more concerning is her level of competition is by far some of the worst I've ever seen. Ever. I know women's MMA sometimes is really hard to get fights, but she had that big overhand upset over Shannon Clark. Outside of that, her 6-0 record. Her other 5 wins are against a girl that was 0-0, 0-0, 0-0, 0-0, 0-0, 0-0. She literally never fought anyone that had a win. I've never seen anything like it. Like, it's really bad. And some of the fights I was watching, when I say she was fighting soccer moms, like some of these girls were actually fighting in t-shirts. It was a gymnasium where her opponent was wearing a t-shirt. Like, it's bad. Like, her level of competition is some of the worst, not just women's MMA in general in the UFC history. Her level of competition is by far the worst. Um, I don't know. I have no idea if her cardio is good though, because they give her these soccer moms, and you look at corner stoppage, round one, head kick, round one. At least this Kasana girl was able to take her in the round two. Good for her, but then lost. Marvel Torres, she fought twice actually. The first time was a no contest. First fight went into round three. Second fight went into round two and ultimately got the finish. So we don't know what her third round cardio is like because she's never been there. She's not good. She's very bad. She throws a lot of spins, like a lot of spinning back fists, a lot of spinning back kicks to the body. She loves it. And that's going to work against soccer moms, but it's not going to work on a UFC level. The crazy thing is she's plus 295 dog, and the girl she's fighting, we just talked about bad records. She's 3-2. She's in the UFC and she is 3-2. And Carly Jodice, but I like Carly Jodice, man. She's only 26 years old. Her two losses are both in the UFC, and they're both by split decision, where she could have gotten the nod both times. So, one judge away from being 5-0. Instead, she's showing 3-2. She has good striking. She has decent power herself. She generally doesn't go to decision on the regional scene. In the UFC, again, lost two split decisions. Her cardio's decent. It checks out. She throws a ton of volume. And when I mean a ton of volume, I mean Josh Van level volume. The girl averages over 11 significant strikes per minute. The UFC averages three. 11 significant strikes per minute. She's rocking a 70% takedown defense, and she'll try to sprinkle in a takedown herself. The thing I like most about her is that she's very, very coachable. Whatever her coaches tell her to do, she does pretty much on command. So I like that a ton. She's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage in this matchup. Her jiu-jitsu is not very good, but neither is Dubin, so it really doesn't matter. So in regards to the striking, I think it's probably Judice, in all honesty, as long as she doesn't get caught with something. In regards to the wrestling, I'd say it's Judice. In regards to the grappling, I think it's a wash. In regards to the cardio, I have no idea, but I would guess Judice. UFC experience, Judice. Level of competition, Judice. Everything is pointing Judice. All of that being said, she could go out there and get starched in 1 minute, like the rest of Dubin's opponents, but she's not going to wear a t-shirt to the octagon, and she doesn't have four kids fighting in a gymnasium. Carly's an actual fighter, so the pick is going to be Carly Judice. The bet's going to be Carly Judice. Next fight of the night, we have our next real sketchy women's MMA fight with Josiane Nunez at -175 going up against Priscilla Cachoeira at +150, over 2.5 -190, under 2.5 at +160. Let's start with Josiane Nunez. She's trash, man. She's 31 years old. She'll have a 2-inch reach advantage, which makes absolutely no sense because she's very, very short. She's like 5 foot out there. The UFC officially lists her at 5'2". She's shorter. She's about 5 foot out there, but has these lanky ass arms. Like she has some of the longest arms I've ever seen. It makes zero sense whatsoever. Her power is pretty decent. Does have a ton of knockouts on her record. Her wrestling, though, is bad. Her jiu-jitsu is bad. Her volume is surprisingly very high. She throws a ton while she's out there, but she gets hit a ton. She's hittable. She's gotten hit more than she's dished out. She seems pretty durable. She's never been knocked out before. But granted, I don't know how she's going to get knocked out when she's fighting Jacqueline Calvacanti, who doesn't hit hard, Chelsea Chandler, who doesn't know how to strike, Zara Farron doesn't really hit that hard, Ramona Pasquale doesn't hit hard. Bia Malecki is one of the softest punchers I've ever seen. So, I mean, who's going to knock her out if she's not fighting anyone with any sort of a semblance of knockout power? She does generally pressure forward. And although she's durable and has never been knocked out, she has been chin checked. I've seen her wobbled a few times. Zara Farron wobbled her. Jacqueline Calvacanti wobbled her. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that she loses by KO. Man, she lost to Chelsea Chandler. That should say enough. You have a loss to Chelsea Chandler. You don't belong in the UFC. Her cardio's all right for all that volume she's throwing. That does kind of throw me for a loop. But again, she's predominantly just a striker that goes out there and beats up on cans. Luckily, she's fighting a can in Priscilla Cachoeira. Priscilla, I thought was cut from the promotion. I don't know how she's still here. Although I talk about how small Josiane Nunez is, she at least has fought at 135 for a while, even though I don't think that's her right weight class. Priscilla, I know 135 isn't her right weight class. She generally fights at 125, but she misses weight every fucking time. So the UFC is forcing her to go up to 135 I mean, if you can't make the weight, you got to do it. She's 36 years old. She has a ton of power. This is going to be the first girl Nunez has fought that actually can put her lights out. But her striking's not that good. Her nickname's a zombie girl, and she fights like that. She gets hit a ton. Like, a lot. And she's never been knocked out, but she has been cracked a few times. She's just so goddamn hittable. Eventually, you are going to get robbled. Her jiu-jitsu is some of the worst I've ever seen. Her wrestling, 65% takedown defense. It's not very good. So we have two girls that are okay strikers with a ton of power. that are both extremely hittable and can't wrestle or grapple for shit. They both like to move forward. Cachoeira loves the pressure forward too, so it'll be interesting who wins that battle. She's awfully durable, but I've seen her chin checked. Her volume's okay. It's not Nunez level high, but it's decent. Her cardio, it's okay. It's about the same as Nunez. She gets tired, and you can tell she's tired, but she keeps throwing, even though she's exhausted. And when you really look at her record, you take her down and you dominate her. That's how you beat Priscilla Cachoeira. It's the easiest thing in the world. Jasmine Jasovicius took her down, subbed her. Miranda Maverick took her down, subbed her. Ariana Lipsky tried to strike with her, and she got knocked out. Ji Young Kim tried to strike with her, and she lost a very controversial decision, but a decision nonetheless. So we see the last two times she fought strikers, she won. Jillian Robertson took her down and submitted her. Gina Mazzani is the world's worst cardio. She took her down and dominated round one, and then she gassed out and ultimately got knocked out. Shayna Dobson prefers to strike, and she got knocked out in 40 seconds. So that's three times she fought strikers, three times she got a win. Now, Luana Carolina is a striker, and she did lose that matchup, so she's 3-1 against strikers. But Meatball Molly McCann is a striker and took her down like five times. Valentina Shevchenko is a world class striker and took her down and subbed her. But that's saying something. If Valentina and Meatball are out there looking like Jordan Burroughs, there's a little bit of an issue. Cachoeira cannot grapple to save her life. Does it matter in this matchup? No, I don't think it does at all. If anyone's getting a takedown, I think it's Cachoeira. Cachoeira has sprinkled in a takedown here or there, like by accident. She had no idea what she was doing, but she got the takedown. Didn't know what to do when she was on top either, but at least it looked good trying to steal around. So at the end of the day, I think it is 50-50. I think it is a complete dog or pass scenario. So I'll go ahead, I'll pick Nunez. I'll side with Vegas as a pick, but in regards to a bet, I'm betting Cachoeira or the under. The under at plus money does have my attention. Neither one of these girls have been knocked out. It's a women's MMA fight, so of course it's plus money. And both these girls hit extremely hard and are extremely hittable. One of them are destined to go out. Is it going to be this fight? Yeah, I can see it. But Priscilla money line and the under are basically the same price. So I'm fine with either or. I'm only taking a plus money shot on this fight. This fight's volatile. So you know what? I'll switch it up. I'll say Priscilla Cachoeira is the pick. The under 2.5 is going to be the bet at plus 160. Next fight of the night. You have these guys that, or guys and girls that fight all the time, and you just can't seem to get right for whatever reason. Um, I had the complete opposite going on with Andre Lima. Andre Lima's minus 350. Daniel Barres is plus 275. Over 2.5 is minus 205. Under 2.5 at plus 155. You could essentially call me an Andre Lima whisperer. Granted, he's undefeated, so just picking him every time is kind of easy. But in hindsight, he's the only one I know that I've locked multiple times. I've locked him against Igor when he got bit. I locked him against Mitra Perso. I locked him against Felipe Dos Santos. And he comes through every time in unimpressive fashion. Like I think he looks terrible in every single one of these wins, but he keeps getting the damn thing done. So I don't know. I can't help but lock this guy because he always wins for me, but he's bad, man. Priscilla Cachoeira cheats a lot. So does Lima. He's holding on defenses. He's low blowing. He really loves to grab that cage. So anytime he fights, the draw is on the table because he will cheat, and eventually someone's going to take a point from him. He's 26 years old. He'll have an inch and a half reach advantage. Again, he's undefeated. He does have good striking. He does have sneaky good power and sneaky jujitsu. He is a black belt, and he is a very active guard when he hits the ground. The problem with him is that he doesn't really like to wrestle. I know he wrestled Felipe Dos Santos, but outside of that, we've never seen him wrestle. We've only seen him strike. And although he's very crisp, he's very clean. It's very Leon Edwards-esque, where it's just low volume. And he hits hard and he can crack, but he's not really knocking people out. So it looks good with every single strike is a significant strike, but there's not a lot of them. It's very low volume. And again, he'll sprinkle in the takedown to just kind of steal the round. And all of these fights are freaking close because of the way he fights. His cardios look good and it's looked bad. It usually looks better when he's just striking. When he does mix in the wrestling is when he can slow down a little bit in his fights. He backs up. He does not go forward. He likes to counter strike, and that's part of the reason his volume is so low. But I don't know. He's not he's not very judge friendly. Judges don't like this guy. The UFC doesn't like this guy, but he won't stop winning. He's 10-0. He looks the part. He looks scary, but then he goes out there and he fights really close fights with every single person. If you gave him Brandon Moreno, it'd be a close fight. If you gave him the worst guy on the roster, if you gave him Jimmy Flick, it'd be close. It's like no matter who he fights, it's going to be close. That's just what he does. On the other side, we have Daniel Barres. I like this guy for absolutely no reason. He's not that good, but he's exciting. He's very exciting. He's 36 years old, so if he's going to do it, you better do the damn thing now because he ain't getting any younger. He has good striking, but he does spam his right hand a lot. Like a lot, a lot. He loves his right hand, and he will throw it the entire 15 minutes. His wrestling's good, but it gasses him out when he does wrestle. So he has not been wrestling much as of late. He's just been relying on look. He's literally holding his right hand ready to. He's ready to throw it in the fucking picture. I don't know, man. He's a good wrestler. He's a good striker. He has okay jujitsu. He's really the complete package. Problem is he's super old and he has bad cardio. He does slow down in every single one of his fights. He's also pretty hittable because he doesn't have the greatest volume in the world, but he does throw more than Andre Lima, so there's that. He does have a tendency to go forward, and the dude's a finisher. Again, he's not like he doesn't throw a lot, and it makes him tired when he wrestles, but he finishes seemingly every single fight. I know he went to decision against Victor Altamirano, but the Fiallo fight only lasted 3 minutes, and he had like two knockdowns and got submitted all in round one. Again, he knocked down Fiallo and then eventually got submitted. So it was a barn burner while it was there. Yes, Victor Altamirano went to decision, but he dropped him multiple times throughout the fight. And then just look at his record. I mean, first round finish, KO. First round submission. First round KO. First round KO. He loses a split decision on Contender Series and one of the best Contender Series fights. He won a split decision the fight before that, but then first round knockout, first round submission, decision, round three submission. It's like he can do it any way he wants, but usually these fights do end inside the distance. And his few losses, he's not getting finished outside of getting choked. He can be submitted. He's never been knocked out. I've seen him wobbled, but he's never been knocked out. He's pretty durable. It's just he has a little bit of a jujitsu deficiency when it comes to him being on his back. Andre Lima's not the world's greatest wrestler, and Barres has 92% takedown defense. I don't think Lima's taking him down. And in a striking affair, Lima's the better striker. Barres throws a little more. They both hit hard. So I really don't know how that's going to look. If it does hit the ground, though, I would give the advantage to Lima, and his guard is very active, and he might catch him. So Lima should be the pick. But at these odds, I can't trust the guy that fights close with everyone at minus 350. Fuck that. Daniel Barres at plus 275 is just a value play. So the pick will be Lima. He should win the fight, but because he fights everyone close, I'm going to take the shot on the plus 275 dog and Daniel Barres. Next fight of the night, we have an interesting one. We have Josias Musasa at minus 700 going up against Carlos Vera at plus 475. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 minus 165. Under 1.5 plus 125. Let's start with Josias Musasa. He has one of the weirdest names I've ever seen. Is it the KO Wizard, I believe is his nickname. He's 8-0. He's 26 years old, so he's entering his prime. Yeah, the KO Wizard. That's interesting. Yeah, man, he kind of reminds you of, if you remember from a few weeks ago, we saw Mansar Abdul Malik fight. This is kind of like a Walmart version of that. At least Abdul has a wrestling background, as a decent wrestler. This guy strikes exactly like Abdul. It is not technical whatsoever, but when he hits you, guys go down. Like at the end of the day, he's very hittable. His hands are low. His chin is way up in the air. He's asking to get KO'd, but he is such a physical specimen that he does not care if you hit him, because if he hits you once, you can go out. But again, the difference is he has no jujitsu and he can't wrestle. He just walks out with his chin sky high, swinging heavies, and 8 times out of 8, he eventually found the chin and put the opponent out. His cardio seemed to check out. The way he fights, you would think he gasses out, but on his Contender Series fight, he gassed his opponent out. He fought one of Marab's main training partners, and everyone was like, "Oh no, he's gonna tire him out." But Musasa actually tired out Marab's training partner. Again, a ton of power. It is not technical striking at all, but he's undefeated doing so. He's extremely hittable, and I've seen him rocked. Let's not act like he's impervious to getting hurt. I've seen him rocked a plethora of times, like to where the fight could have been stopped, but he has heart. He has power and he has heart. That's all he has. And when you do take him down, because his wrestling is ass, he does have a good get up game. It's very, very urgent. He knows he has no jujitsu. So, what is his answer? To just get up quickly, get up safely. And that's what he does. He's just very, very raw. He needs a lot of seasoning, he needs a lot of work. But at the end of the day, he's only 26 years old. He's only going to get better. So, if you're going to beat him, you're going to beat him now before he really knows what the fuck he's doing. The thing is, although I want to fade Musasa really, really badly, I don't know if Carlos Vera is the guy to do it with. Carlos Vera, I don't even have to go into detail of Carlos Vera. He trained with Ryan Hall. He has Ryan Hall's chest hair and fights just like him. His striking is very, very flashy, a lot of kicks, capoeira style, but zero power whatsoever. His wrestling is non-existent, but he's very, very, very good on the ground, and he will find a way to the ground. He will dive on a leg. He will pull guard. He will do whatever he has to do to get the fight to the ground, and because that's where he feels comfortable. Like Ryan Hall, he doesn't have the greatest chin, but he's not always going out. Um, his level of competition's not great. His cardio's decent. He can go a hard 15 minutes, and he's very kick heavy, like a lot of kicks. Now, can he kick Musasa, who he's just chin sky high? Absolutely. Could he get caught with like a massive hook in the middle of his kick? Yeah, that's probably more likely. I don't really see this fight going the distance. And the under 2.5 is like minus 140. That's probably the best way to play this fight. If you want to get crazy, you can bet Carlos Vera. Who knows what Carlos Vera by sub is? Probably something really, really juicy. I didn't look it up prior to. But at the end of the day, the under's a whole hell of a lot safer. The pick's going to be Musasa, even though I think he's trash. But Brandon, you're going to have to knock out Musasa or you're going to have to take him down and sub him. Vera just doesn't wrestle. He has no power and can't wrestle. So he has the tools. He has half of the tools he needs. And I think that's why Musasa gets this done. So the pick is Musasa. The bet's going to be the under 2.5. Next fight of the night. We have another guy off Dana White Contender Series that I really don't want to trust, but I'm forced to because he's fighting another Dana White Contender Series guy. They're fighting each other, so pick the best one. And that's going to be Dayar Nergaze at minus 360, going up against Bredson Ribeiro at plus 280, over 2.5 plus 145, under 2.5 minus 190. Let's start with Dayar. I really don't want to like this guy. Something about him just screams fraud and overrated. Um, but he's not bad. I went back, I did the fight tape, and he's better than I remember. I don't know why I was picking against him on Contender Series. He's not terrible. He's 27 years old, so he's in his prime. He's 10-0. He's undefeated. He has good striking. He has sneaky good jujitsu. I didn't realize that. He moves very well on the ground for a 205er. Most guys at 205 can't spell jujitsu, but this guy is pretty smooth and has a pretty active guard, which threw me off. He kicks a ton, a lot of low kicks, a lot of head kicks. He loves to kick. He's very, very kick heavy, but he pressures forward while kicking, so it's very different. It's very unique. His wrestling's not terrible. It's not great, especially coming from that part of the world, you'd think it would be better. But for 205, it's good. 205, again, they can't grapple at all at 205. Magomed Ankalaev won a title without even getting a takedown because other people just don't know how to grapple at all. So this guy's in a little bit of an anomaly at 205, and his cardio checks out. So, like, this kid's actually a problem, in all honesty. I don't know why I was against him to start. He completely changed my mind when I did fight tape. I went in, I did it blind, and I've done a complete 180 on this kid. I don't think he's bad. I think he's pretty decent. On the other end, we have Hudson Ribeiro, where his fight tape matched what I thought of him, which is very little. He has okay jujitsu. It's really not that good. He just has a really good guillotine. He's 28 years old, so he's a lot younger than I thought he was. He has a 7-inch reach advantage. This guy is an absolute freak in regards to size, but he's very hittable. He has very low volume. He's very chinny. And he has, this is not a mistype, 0% takedown defense. Zero. He has never stuffed a takedown in the UFC. What is the main reason for that? Because he is a part of Dustin Poirier's Gilly Goose Gang. He loves jumping the Gilly. He can't help it. He literally has, like, you think Dustin Poirier can't help but pull the Gilly? This guy has 0% takedown. He doesn't even try to sprawl. Automatically jumps Gilly. Can he get it? Yeah, he's got a few times. He has a nice guillotine on him. But a big overhand right to guillotine is literally all he has. And he's missing really, really important things in regards to MMA. He's missing takedown defense, literal 0%. He's missing cardio, cannot go a hard 15 minutes. And he's missing a chin, can't take a punch. So those are the three most important things in MMA. Breton Ribeiro has zero of them. He got into the UFC by knocking out Bruno Lopez on the Contender Series with a big overhand right. A little bit of an anomaly. Probably shouldn't have happened. They gave him a UFC contract. God knows why. He went out there, proceeded to lose multiple fights, and just won his first fight in the UFC against Kyle Machado, who has since been cut because he's off of Dana White Contender Series on a fraud. So he had a fraud fight a fraud, and he won a split decision over a fraud who's now cut, and now they're giving him 10-0 Nagurze. He's going to die. The pick is going to be Dair. The bet is going to be Dair. It's probably the most confident pick on the card. As long as he doesn't get gillied. For the love of God, don't get gillied. Next fight of the night. We have our girl Sam Page at plus 195 going up against Stephanie Luciano at minus 235. Over 2.5, minus 650. Under 2.5 at plus 400. Let's start with Sam Page because she won me over. I used to hate Sam Page. I used to think she was trash. She's gotten much better. She's much better than her 9-6 record shows. She's fought a really good level of competition in the UFC. She's 32 years old. She's still in her prime. Best part of Sam Page is her cardio. She can go a hard 15 minutes and go a hard 25 minutes. The girl doesn't even breathe heavy. I believe she ran track or did cross country or something in college. Like she has been doing cardio her whole life, and it shows. Her striking's okay. Her jujitsu's okay. Her wrestling's okay. She's a generalist. She does nothing good. She does nothing horribly. She can do it all to at like a C plus to B minus level. That's what she is. Problem with her is that she's a little hittable and she has zero power whatsoever. She couldn't bust a grape. Like this girl can't hurt anyone. Her volume's decent. She has 60% takedown defense. That's not a good number. But the girls taking her down again are very, very good. Piera Rodriguez is good. Victoria Dudikova is not great, but she won that fight. Yasmin's good. She just has no chin. Jacqueline Amorim is good. Elise Reed is okay. Estela Nunez is okay. Luana Pinheiro is okay. Luma, Tisha Torres, Vanessa Demopoulos. Like, these are all UFC caliber girls. They're all decent. I like Sam Page. She really grew on me. The biggest thing is her fight IQ. When she fought Elise Reed, she went out there and took her down and looked like just like she spent 2-3 years in Dagestan. When she fought Estela Nunez, same thing. When she fought Luana Pinheiro, she wanted to strike because Luana likes being on the ground. When she fought Piera Rodriguez, she tried to tire her out. When she fought Jacqueline Amorim, she did tire her out and win. When she fought Yasmin, she tried to wrestle. She couldn't get the takedown, but she tried. She strikes with wrestlers. She wrestles with strikers. She does everything right. And if you're a gas bag, Victoria Dudikova is a gas bag. She went out there, tired her out, and won the last 2 rounds. Like Sam Page is a smart fighter. She is not physically gifted at all. And that's why she's a generalist, because she just doesn't have the physical tools, but she has the most important tool, which is your mind, which so she can outsmart you and win. And she's another one that listens to her coaches, and I like her a lot now. On the other side, and she's always a dog. All of those wins she had there, she was an underdog in every single one, so she keeps printing us money as well. On the other side, we have Stephanie Luciano, who's making her not UFC debut, but the first fight in the UFC where it's not what is it, Talentina Alencar? What's her name? Talita Alencar. She fought her on Contender Series, got absolutely dominated round one. She lost round two, and then 10-8'd Alencar in round three because Alencar gassed out. Same thing in the second fight. She went out there, Alencar got tired, and Luciano, instead of getting a draw, actually got the win this time. What do I like about Luciano? She's 25. She has a 2-inch reach advantage. She does have good striking. She has good cardio. Her level of competition is not great. I don't like that. Alan Carr's the best girl she's ever fought. Outside of that, these girls don't even have winning records really. 85% takedown defense. That's skewed because it's just against Alan Carr, who's not really the greatest wrestler. So I've seen her taken down multiple times on the regional scene, but she was also like 20 years old at that point. So give or take, 85 is probably skewed, but it's probably not bad. Like at the end of her career, it'll probably show like a 70% takedown defense. Um, she has decent volume when she's on the feet. And what I did notice though is that just like Jordan Santos last week, she doesn't counter. She's either going forward and throwing a combination, or she's running away. She does this thing where the same thing he does, where he puts his hand out and just circles the whole time when you start swinging back. So when you're your opponent and you're going after them, you have nothing to worry about. They are not going to counter strike at all. They run away. She does not counter. She runs. And one, not a great look for the judges. Two, if you're in a little bit of a pinch, just throw a combination and you can go ahead and reset because she does not stand her ground and counter. She backs up. And if you're getting backed up, throw a little combo and then they go right back into the center of the octagon. Or if you want to take her down and get her against the cage, throw a little combo. She'll back up right against the cage and then you can go ahead and work your cage work. So that's just something I noticed that there's no threat coming back at you if you're throwing. You have nothing to be scared of. Um, her jujitsu's all right, and she'll try to mix in wrestling from here to time. But her get up game is pretty decent as well. I will give her that. Alan Carr kept taking her down, and she just kept getting up. So I don't know. She's very, very green. She's very, very raw. She's 25 years old, and you can see it. She can be a thing. She could definitely win this fight. Do I think she should be a minus 250 favorite? No, absolutely not. Do I think she should be the favorite? Yeah, I think she should beat Sam Page. But again, Sam Page is smart, and you're giving me plus 200. She keeps printing us money. I'm finally on board. So I'm going to stay on the train. I'm not going to leave it. So the pick is Luciana because she should win this fight. If you want to just pick who you think wins the fight, put money on Luciano. If you want to value chase, because Sam Page, this line is off, it's Sam Page at plus 200. And I'm going to bet Sam Page at plus 200. Pick Luciano, bet Sam Hughes. Next fight of the night, we have a weird one. We have another weight class switch. We have Waldo Cortez Acosta at minus 165 going up against Ryan Superman Span at plus 140. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 is minus 190. Under 1.5 at plus 145. Let's start with Waldo Cortez Acosta because I think he's trash, man. He's 33 years old. He has pretty good striking. He throws a mean overhand right as well. He calls it a fastball because he used to be a pitcher in Cuba, and I think the minor leagues are used to pitch for the Reds minor league team. But yeah, he has pretty decent striking, and he has good cardio for a heavyweight. Very good cardio for a heavyweight. An anomaly. That's all he's got. Striking, overhand, and good cardio. His jiu-jitsu is not good. He could not submit Robelis to Spain, and that speaks volumes. His wrestling's not good. We saw Marco Rosario de Lima take him down 3 or 4 times, and he hasn't fought any other wrestler since. So he fought one wrestler, and he got taken down multiple times. I don't know. His volume's decent. But he doesn't really throw, although he throws that overhand, he doesn't have a ton of power. He's not knocking a lot of people out. Jared Vendera went to decision. Robelis to Spain went to decision. Andre Arlovsky, old man Andre, went to decision. Lucas Bresky, he knocked out in 3 minutes. That happens. Chase Sherman went to decision. Like he goes to decision in every single one of his fights. He doesn't hit that hard, in all honesty. But he does throw a lot. He can wear on you, so I don't know. I'm just not very impressed. He's very one dimensional. Most heavyweights are one dimensional, but he's no different. New heavyweight Ryan Span is not one dimensional. He looks frightening. He hits extremely hard, but his best path to victory is his ground game. He has more submissions than knockout on his records, which just shocks everyone. He is 33 years old. He is someone that used to fight at 185. This is going to be his debut at heavyweight. He has good power. Don't get me wrong. Although he'd prefer to sub you, he can knock you out. He has good striking. The problem with him is that he's extreme, and he has a good level of competition. Problem with him is that he is extremely hittable. He has horrible cardio, like horrible, horrible cardio, and a bad chin. So again, these are wrestling, a chin, and cardio are the three things I really, really need you to have. He only has one of them, and his wrestling's not that great. It's okay. So it's very, very concerning there. The biggest problem I have actually though is probably his headspace. He's a little mental. He gets in his own head, kind of like Rose and Namajunas style, where they'll talk about their mental health a lot. Jalen Turner, we've seen Jalen Turner look phenomenal, look like he's a top five guy. And then we've seen him just shut down and get submitted by Ignacio Bahamundes in round one. So, like, you kind of see Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Ryan Spann does that all the fucking time. You never know what version you're getting. You got good Ryan Spann last time against OSP. You got bad Ryan Spann the fight before that with Bogdan Grad. Or not Bogdan Grad. Bogdan, what is his name? Bogdan Guskov. I don't know. You never know what version you're getting, and that's a scary proposition. Good news is he's a dog. So I mean, if you want to take the shot, you can. I'm personally not going to. Ryan Spann's a quitter. No offense to him, I couldn't get in the octagon. I am not talking shit on Ryan Spann. He has more heart than I do to get in there. But compared to other fighters, I've seen him mentally give up in there. I can't put money on that. But when he's on, he's an absolute killer. So I'm just going to put money on the under. If he takes down Waldo, he can submit Waldo easily, just like that. And I could see him doing it half the time. If Waldo doesn't go away, and he's trying to lug around a big boy because Ryan Spann again is generally a light heavyweight. He's going up to heavyweight. He saw his best friend Kennedy Njoku go up to heavyweight and have success, and now he's thinking he can do the same thing. But Waldo actually has cardio. So if he goes up to heavyweight, Waldo doesn't fuck off and he is still there in round two. I definitely see Spann gassing out and then Waldo probably getting the finish there. Either way, that under's going to hit. It's set at 1.5 and it's plus money. I'll take that alt line 2.5 and play it safe. The pick is going to be Ryan Spann. I'll go ahead and side with the better fighter. But the bet's going to be the under because I can't trust them. Under 2.5 to be more perfect. Next fight of the night. I'm gonna sound like an absolute madman. We have So Young Yu at minus 650 going up against AJ Cunningham at plus 450. Over 1.5 minus 200. Under 1.5 at plus 160. Stay with me. For the love of God, stay with me. Su Young Woo is 29 years old, coming off of Road to UFC. He has good wrestling. He has good jujitsu. His striking, non-existent. It's not good at all. His volume, non-existent. Throws two significant strikes per minute. His cardio, not good. He slows down in all of his fights. His level of competition, not good. Very, very low level of competition. He backs up all the time, which is not good optically for the judges. What I will give him is that his corner is loud as shit. It is one of the loudest corners I've ever heard. I remember Claudio Ribeiro has a very, very loud corner. And we're in the apex, so they can influence these judges. Like this dude, I swear to God, this you guy, his corner, he will throw a leg kick and you will think he just got a knockout. Like that's how much his corner cheers. He'll throw a jab and you just hear them going nuts. It's insane. They definitely influence the judges by how crazy they're yelling. But when you're really just watching it, he's not doing much. He does not like to strike. He is not comfortable on the feet whatsoever. He wants to take you down and he wants to grapple you. But he has a tendency to let people get back up. Like he has good wrestling and he has good jujitsu, but you can get up. And I'm very, very, very scared that this is going to look like the Race of Europe fight. Like he got cool takedowns, but then Josh Van just said, "Get the fuck off me," and got up and then pieced him up on the feet. And Ray had no striking. Neither does you. And they're both coming off of Road to UFC. Like this, they both fought bad level of competition, have no striking, just wrestling to fall back on, have bad cardio. It's the exact same thing. Only difference is I think Ray's better jujitsu. On the other hand, though, as much as I hate you and as much as I want to fade you, AJ Cunningham very well may be the worst fighter on the UFC roster. He's bad. Very, very, very bad. Why is he in the UFC, you might ask? He is the cousin of Bryce Mitchell, and they were giving Bryce Mitchell a favor back when they liked Bryce Mitchell. Well, now, not so much. AJ Cunningham's 30 years old, so he's not a prospect. He'll have a 6-inch reach advantage, which is huge. He will he will be dropping a weight class. So make sure you're watching this. He is someone that generally fights at 145. He is moonlighted up at 155. This fight's at 135. So I don't know if he can even make this weight. I don't know if this fight's even going to happen. But if he makes weight, he's going to be massive compared to you. His jiu-jitsu is not terrible. He does, again, train with his cousin Bryce, who's world class on the ground. His striking's not bad. It's not good, but it's better than Yu's. Unlike you, he does throw volume. He'll throw a ton of volume out there and swing. His chin's not the greatest. He doesn't get straight up knocked out, but he does get rocked all the time. He has a few standing TKOs on his record. Part of that is because he's so goddamn hittable. He does not move his head. He is allergic to head movement. He does not believe in it. Thinks he can just take a punch to give one. He does not care about moving his head, and it's costing him a ton. I don't know if it costs him with this matchup. You doesn't know how to throw a punch, so I don't think it really matters there. 33% takedown defense is the issue. He is pretty solid on the ground. He knows what's going on down there, but he can get taken down there a lot. His cardio's all right. It's not good. It's not bad. It's serviceable. It's probably better than use. I don't know. He's so bad. He's so bad. He's so bad. And he does get tired. It's just he fights while tired. He has a lot of heart. He has a ton of heart. We talk about Ryan Spann not having heart. This guy has some of the most heart I've ever seen. Just he has the physical traits, just not good. Sam Hughes is good without the physical traits. This guy has the physical traits, but just isn't good at anything. But he has size. And we keep seeing these road to UFC guys coming in and losing and getting out muscled. Like they just aren't physically strong in that part of the world in MMA. Part of that's because they don't cut a lot of weight. They don't believe in cutting weight. Same, even their promotion, ONE FC, Mighty Mouse is the 135-pound champion because they have hydration tests and they do not allow you to cut weight in that part of the world. They don't want you cutting weight. So they come over to the UFC and you have these absolute monsters like AJ Cunningham, who's going from 155 down to 135. Like they are going to run into monsters and they get out muscled and they just get out physical. And sometimes that's all you need is to be bigger and stronger than your opponent. It might happen here. I use so bad. And Cunningham is the absolute worst. But Cunningham has physical traits and you does not. And Cunningham's a plus 500 dog. For the love of God. They're both so bad. But you shouldn't have a plus 500 on this. So the pick, good lord, is going to be AJ Cunningham. The bet at plus 500 is going to be AJ Cunningham, and I don't feel good about it. I can't tell you to do it, but I think he gets the job done. Next fight of the night, we have another one that the line is just off to me. We have Damon Blackshear at minus 470 going up against Cody Gibson at plus 345. Over 2.5, minus 210. Under 2.5 at plus 160. Let's start with Damon Blackshear. Damon Blackshear is 30 years old. He has good wrestling. He has really good jiu-jitsu. His striking's okay. He's very physically fast and powerful. He's just an athlete. He's a good level of competition, fighting a lot of top tier competition on the regional scene. The Pat Sabatinis or Pat Sabatellos, and I think he fought Chepe on the regional scene. Who did he fight on the regional scene? Danny Sabatello, sorry. Danny Sabatello. Mateo Vogel's not bad, especially for a regional opponent. Comes into the UFC and fights Yusuf Zalal his very first fight. He did fight Pat Sabatini, Chris Montino. He's fighting good guys prior to the UFC, and his UFC run has been Yusuf Zalal's good. Fareed Basharat's good. Luan Lasura wasn't bad. I don't really know what happened to him. Jose Johnson, it is what it is. Mario Batista's a top five guy right now. Montel Jackson's good. And Cody Staman's a perennial top 15 guy. So he's fought a tough level of competition since coming into the promotion. He's doing okay. The Montel Jackson fight was weird. I've never seen him starch like that. That wasn't normal. I don't know what happened there. Fareed and Mario were able to outlast him, but I thought he beat Mario Batista on short notice, mind you. But it is what it is. All in all, he's a good fighter. He has 60% takedown defense, which is interesting. Or sorry, 68% takedown defense. I thought it'd be better. But he does throw more volume than I thought he did. And he's extremely good at back takes. He's very Aljo-esque. If you give up your back, he's going to slap on that body triangle, and that's the end of the round. You're either going to get subbed or you're going to get rode out. That's what he does. On the other side, we have Cody Gibson, who basically has all the same qualities. He's difference is he's 37 years old. That's not good. But he has good wrestling. He has okay jiu-jitsu. He has okay striking. He can slow down a little bit in his fights, but so can Blackshear. Just like Blackshear, he's riding a 68% takedown defense. He gives up his back when he gets up, though. That's the only reason I'm going to lean Blackshear. And also, he lost to Miles Johns, who fights just like Blackshear as well. Good wrestler with okay jujitsu. Sorry, with okay striking, just very fast, twitchy. It's kind of the same thing. Just Damon's better on the ground. Damon's a better jujitsu practitioner. So I don't know. We've kind of already seen this fight, and Cody lost. And the fact that he gets up his back is it. Now, if he just goes and takes down Blackshear, doesn't have a lot of urgency to get up. Maybe that's the way Cody wins this fight. Maybe Cody gets a KO. Cody hits decently hard. And we just saw Blackshear knocked out in 20 seconds 2 fights ago. So Cody has routes to win. And the wrestling, he's a good wrestler too. So like Cody can definitely win this fight. Plus 345 is ridiculous. That's very, very wide. That's too wide. But the fight before that, I'm going to have money on AJ Cunningham, so I can't go plus 500 and plus 400, but I won't allow it. And unfortunately, I'm all in on AJ Cunningham this week. So I'm going to go against Cody Gibson. Damon Blackshear should win this fight. The line sucks, but you deal with it. The pick is going to be Damon Blackshear. The bet is Damon Blackshear. If you take the shot on Cody Gibson, I do not blame you. Next fight of the night. We have Alexander Hernandez at minus 195 going up against Kurt Holobaugh at plus 165. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 205. Under 2.5 plus 155. Let's start with Alexander Hernandez. One of the guys that had left Factory X and are training exclusively with our boy Raw Dog Royval. Hernandez is turning over a new leaf since moving over to Colorado. He was kind of the guy in Texas, moved over to Colorado and changed his attitude. He's been humbled. He has a 2-inch reach advantage here. He has good striking. He has decent power. He has good wrestling. He has pretty sneaky good volume. Problem is he's a little hittable and his cardio sucks. He will slow down. But living over, again, it's one thing to just train in Colorado, but as he's continually living there, you see his cardio getting better each and every fight. So he can go 15 minutes now. Before he couldn't even go 15 minutes. Now he can. He's just tired at the end of it. His jiu-jitsu's gotten much better since being down in Colorado. This was a good move for him. He's been a lot better there. Granted, he's very quick, very fast twitchy. He has a limit, though. Although he's getting better where he's at, he has his limitations. If you're giving him Austin Hubbard, if you're giving him Jim Miller, Mike Breeden, he's going to go out there. Chris Guchmacher, he's going to go out there. He's going to win those fights. You give him Drew Dober, Thiago Moises, Renato Moicano, he's going to lose those fights. So if you give him a top 10 guy who's a very good wrestler, he's in trouble. If you give him a fringe top 15 guy who prefers to strike, he's fine. So, I mean, he's an okay fighter. He's not bad anywhere. He's a top 15 guy. He is not a top 10 or top 5 guy. On the other side, we have Kurt Holobaugh, who is closer to that top 15 range. He's 38 years old. Biggest part of his game is his cardio and his jujitsu. He has very, very, very good jujitsu. And he has pretty decent cardio, especially for a 38-year-old. His striking's okay. And he seems to get better as the fight goes on. He's a little bit of a slow starter, but as the fight progresses, he gets better. 42% takedown defense is his issue. He's great on the ground, but he lets people take him there, so that's not great. His level of competition is good, just like Alexander Hernandez, and his volume's good. Um, I talk about Alex Hernandez slows down in his fights. Kurt is just physically slow. He's just old. he's he's Hernandez is so fast twitchy. He's so much faster than Kurt Alaba. He should be able to piece him up on the feet. But Kurt, someone that likes to go forward, and Hernandez will back up from time to time. Um, I don't know, man. He's very, very boxing centric. Like he basically only boxes, and that's good for Hernandez, who's more of a kickboxer. So he has the faster hands and he can throw kicks out there. All that good for him. Hernandez should win this fight. I'll go ahead and I'll pick Hernandez, but something in my gut is saying Kurt is extremely live. This is one where we could see Hernandez hit him with the kitchen sink and then fade, and then possibly lose. We just saw Kurt win the Ultimate Fighter against Austin Hubbard, doing that exact same thing. Austin Hubbard won round one by outstriking him and taking him down, but Austin got tired beating the hell out of Kurt, who is still there and still going, and then eventually succumbed to a submission of Kurt. I could see the same thing happening to Alexander Hernandez, and it does scare me. Kurt's live, but I'll trust Alex for now. The pick will be Hernandez, the bet will be Hernandez, but I have zero confidence whatsoever. Next fight of the night is one where I'm a little more confident. We have Kevin Vallejos at minus 600 going up against Sung Woo Choi at plus 425. Over 2.5 plus 160, under 2.5 minus 210. Let's start with Kevin. Kevin's 14-1. His only career loss is to someone you might have heard of, Gene Silva, who is on an absolute tear right now. Gene Silva got into the UFC by winning his Dana White Contender Series as an underdog to Kevin Vallejos. Kevin Vallejos was the favorite in that matchup. And let me tell you why. Because he's 23 years old and the kid's a prodigy. He has very, very, very good striking, a ton of power. He goes out there and finishes basically everyone. His volume's good. His wrestling's good. He's very, very durable. Gene Silva won a decision over him. He's knocking out everyone in the UFC. Went to a decision with Kevin. He has good cardio. He's very, very boxing heavy as well. He doesn't throw a ton of kicks. He'll throw a leg kick once in a while, but it's predominantly boxing and combinations. And he works the body a lot. He's kind of like Josh Van. These young kids, again, 23. I think Josh Van's 23 too. These young kids love their body work and their boxing, and it's kind of similar. He's basically Mexican Josh Van, with a little bit better wrestling. That's really what it is. Less volume, not Josh Van level volume. So he replaces volume with a little bit of wrestling is basically what we have here. Kid's good. The kid is the truth. 14-1 for a reason. He's beaten UFC veterans on the regional scene. And he came back with a vengeance in Contender Series. Got a vicious round one knockout by working the body. So I like this kid a lot. I think he's the truth. On the other side, we have Sung Woo Choi, who's someone I keep betting. I like Sung Woo Choi, but I've come to a realization he may not be that good. He started off hard. He fought Mazar Evloev in I think his UFC debut. He's fought Yusuf Zalal and won actually. He's fought Mike Trezano was pretty decent. He fought Steve Garcia, good lord. He fought Julian Erosa and won. Um, Gavin Tucker is not bad. Like he fought some pretty good guys. Gavin Tucker, Mazar Evloev, Yusuf Zalal, Alex Caceres. Like all these guys aren't bad. Josh Kulabau, these are a good level of competition. The problem is he's losing a lot of these fights. The fight against Yusuf, yeah, he won. But Yusuf was literally there to train someone else. He took that fight on short notice. He took that fight because he was going to corner, and he's like, "Well, I'll fight while I'm there." And went ahead and yeah, Sung Woo Choi won, but it was a very, very close, controversial split. Or sorry, the split was Sean Woodson. It was a very, very close fight against Sung Woo Choi, and it is what it is. Yeah, it was close. At the end of the day, I don't know why I'm going on a tangent about that. Choi has good striking. He has 70% takedown defense. That's how you used to beat him, take him down, because he could not wrestle at all. He's improved a lot. He's a lot better defensively wrestling. He has very, very good counters. Um, he has good cardio. He has a 6 inch reach advantage in this matchup, which is huge. Here's the problem with Choi. Choi doesn't have a chin. He gets knocked out a lot. We saw him rocked against Gavin Tucker. We saw him well, he pieced up Julian. We saw him get beat by Alex Caceres. We saw him get dropped badly against Josh Kulabau. We saw him get dropped and knocked out badly against Mike Trezano. We saw him get knocked out badly in a minute against Steve Garcia. Yeah, his last three fights, his last four fights, he's been outside of his win against Rhino Aarons. His last four losses, he's been dropped in every single fight, and two of them he got actually knocked out. So not the greatest look. His jiu-jitsu is also ass. He has no grappling to speak of. Good takedown defense now because he can't grapple. So he's a one-dimensional striker who prefers to counter. Kevin will give him stuff to counter, but if he catches him, it's over. Choi hits hard. Maybe he can catch Kevin coming in, but I have a feeling Choi is going to counter Kevin, hit Kevin very hard. Kevin's just going to stare at him and hit him back, and Choi is going out. Eventually, I think Kevin catches him. That 6 inch reach advantage scares me because Choi is a good striker, but his chin's so bad. Vallejos hits so hard. It just takes one, and I think he finds it. Pick is Kevin. The bet is Kevin. Then that takes us to the co-main event of the evening, which is another bad co-main. I don't know what the UFC is doing with their co-main events. We have Elizeu Zaleski at minus 200 going up against Chidi and Njokuani at plus 170. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 240. Under 2.5 at plus 190. Let's start with Zaleski dos Santos. Or sorry, Alessio Zaleski. He's 38 years old. That's a red flag, number one. He has good striking. He has good jiu-jitsu. He's a black belt. His wrestling's not great. It's there. His cardio's okay. He'll slow down, but he's not gassing out at all. His level of competition's very good. 68% takedown defense. Although he's not going out there and just getting knocked out, you can't chin check him. I've seen him rock multiple times. And he'll just randomly wrestle. It's very interesting. He's not the greatest wrestler, but he has randomly gone out there and decided to put on a singlet. The last time we saw him do that was against Randy Brown 2 fights ago. Randy Brown was a very tall, lanky striker. That's kind of what he's going against with a pretty decent ground game. And that's kind of what he's going against here with Chidi. I don't know. Zaleski also has pretty decent volume. I don't know. I don't really know. I think he's due to fade. He's 38 years old. I've seen him chin checked. I just think it's coming. Mother Nature wins every single time. You can't beat aging. Good news for him though is that he's fighting Chidi, who's also old as shit. Chidi's 36 years old, but he does have some physical tools. He's going to have a 7 inch reach advantage in this matchup. He has good striking. He definitely hits harder. He has a ton of power. His jiu-jitsu, again, used to be very bad. It's gotten much better. Zaleski's is head and shoulders better than Chidi, but Chidi can hold his own on the ground now. Do you have to watch the weigh-ins? He's someone that used to fight at 170, said that the weight cut was like killing him and he couldn't do it anymore. He fought at 185 for years and then just randomly decided to go back down to 170. He made it. His last 2 fights, he made weight at 170, but the older he gets, the harder it's going to get, so he might be getting drained. It is hitting his cardio. He does slow down in his fights. His level of competition's all right, but his volume's pretty decent. He has a really, really good get up game in the first round. Second and third round, he will succumb to it and kind of give up a little bit on himself. But first round, his takedown defense is good, and his urgency to get up, if you do get him down, really good. He has very good hips, does everything technically right. On the feet, I think this is pretty 50-50, but Chidi hits harder. On the ground, it's definitely Zaleski, but Chidi should be able to stay safe. And then in regards to the wrestling, I think it's a little bit of a wash there. Zaleski's not the best wrestler. Chidi's not the best wrestler, but has pretty solid takedown defense and a good get up game initially. So it kind of comes down to it being 50-50, and Zaleski has the better cardio, but that doesn't match the line. Cheaty plus 170 just based on the cardio, and he shouldn't gas. He will get tired, but shouldn't gas as long as he can win the first two rounds, which I could see. I think Cheaty's live. I don't know. I think the wrong man's favored. I'm on an island. Everyone's picking Zaleski. I'm the only one I know picking Cheaty. But as a dog, that's easy for me to do. So the pick is going to be Cheaty. The bet's going to be Cheaty, Cheaty, bang, bang. And that takes us to the main event. If you haven't already, smash that like button, give a follow over on Twitter, over on Instagram, over on TikTok, wherever there's social media. There's the Stats and Stacks podcast. It's a very uneventful main event, to be honest with you. I'm kind of pissed that this is a main event. We have a rematch that nobody asked for. We have Marvin, the Italian Dream Vettori, at minus 160 going up against Roman. Do you want me to submit him, Dolidze, at plus 140? Thanks, Clint. Over 4.5 is minus 215. Under 4.5 at plus 175. Let's start with the Italian Dream. Let's just, you can sum up his whole shtick in one word: generalist. Okay striking, okay jujitsu, okay wrestling, not great anywhere, not bad anywhere. Zero power, pillow fisted. He is 31 years old. God, he is essentially male Sam Hughes. He does nothing wrong, but he doesn't hit hard, and he's not the greatest. That's really what it comes down to. Extremely durable. How this man hasn't been knocked out, I don't know. Roman Dolidze hurt him a ton in their first matchup, a fight that I thought Roman won. But whatever, it is what it is. He got hurt and hit a million and one times against Jared Cannonier. How he survived that, I don't know. He got cracked against Robert Whitaker. He got cracked against Izzy Adesanya in the first fight, or was it the second fight? In the rematch? I don't know. Whatever. He gets cracked all the fucking time. He has good game plans. If he needs to go out there and wrestle, he'll wrestle. If he has to go out there and strike to beat you, he'll strike. He's very smart, does everything he's supposed to do. We have not seen him in 2 years since that Jared beating, which is very, very good because he's still only 31 years old somehow. He's been in the UFC since he's like 22. So it's been what feels like 10 years and might have been 10 years, but he's still only 31. Um, I don't know, man. He won the first fight, so that he has that going for him. Why he's still the favorite, but he was a bigger favorite the first time. This time he's not as big of a favorite because a lot of people thought Dolidze won the first fight. Here's the deal: that was a 3-rounder. This is a 5-rounder, and Marvin does have good cardio. Dolidze does not. Dolidze hits very, very hard. He has world class jujitsu that no one talks about. Like he is a ADCC world champion at 205. Like he is a very good grappler. We saw the few times he did go down to the ground. Kevin Holland got finished. Granted, it was a rib injury, but still. Jack Hermansson's a BJJ black belt. He went out there and folded up Jack like a pretzel. When he does hit the ground, he is dangerous. He is good on the ground. The problem is he can't wrestle. So you'll never see him on the ground. And he's a little crazy. He likes to knock people out. He has extreme power. The dude hits like an absolute truck. He'll have a 2-inch reach advantage here. And he cracked Marvin in their first fight. The problem is he gasses out with how heavy he swings. And he's not very technical at all. He's extremely hittable. And he's very low volume. So when he throws to put you out. But because he throws that way, he can only do it for so long. So it has its pros and its cons. He's also just physically slow, like very, very slow. That's why he's so goddamn hittable. Marvin could probably land 3 jabs in the time Roman's throwing one of his wild hooks. So it's just, but he does pressure forward. He marches forward. His 33% takedown defense, but that's by design because he's so good on the ground. He does not care if you take him down. But at the first fight, Marvin got backed up, and Marvin does not fight well going off his back. He does not. He literally does not. And Roman made him do it in round 1 and round 3. Roman took round 2 off. And then he came back with a vengeance round 3 and got robbed doing that. I think he won round 3, and I think the judges didn't like that he took round 2 off, and it was close enough to where they gave the fight to Marvin in a unanimous decision, which was very odd. But everyone thinks the fight was closer. That's why the lines are closer. But again, that 5-round is the probably the main reason I'm going to have to side with Marvin. He'll definitely be my pick. I know what we always say, rematches don't go the same way as the first one, but the first one was a 3 rounder. This one's a 5 rounder, so I don't know if that is an exception to the rule. If someone finishes this fight, it's Roman. Roman can sub Marvin. Roman can KO Marvin. Roman is the finisher in this matchup. But Marvin is so goddamn durable, and he took 2 years off, which he needed. I think he's going to come back rejuvenated, and I think Marvin's going to make it look pretty easy. Even if he loses round one, that's probably what I'm going to end up doing. So the pick's going to be Marvin, and I don't think I'm going to bet it until round two. I think if Roman wins round one, you can get plus money on Marvin, and that's what I did the first time. Roman won round one, and then I live bet. I had a bet on Roman as a dog, and then I live bet Marvin Vettori, and I had plus 200 both sides, and it was great. I didn't care who won. Roman got screwed. Who cared? I had Marvin, and I think I might do the same. I might bet Dolidze and the chance that he might get a finish. The line's not good enough. Line's not good enough. I'm gonna live bet Marvin after round one. If Roman wins round one, I'm betting Marvin. If Marvin wins round one and now he's like minus 500, I'm staying away. But if Roman wins round one, I am betting Marvin Vettori. And that's UFC Vegas 104. It's not the greatest card in the world, but it's a free card, and any card is good when you make money. Let's get after it.